You know, one of my favorite things I love to do when meeting you EU fans on Skype is I ask you about your origin story, right? How did you become an Expanded Universe fan? And to be honest, I have heard some really interesting stories, but I never gave mine. So today I want to do that. It's kind of funny because I've always wanted to make my own origin video, and I was going to do that a long time ago, but of course one thing led to another. Anyway, here it goes. I grew up loving Star Wars like everyone else did back in the day. I knew about the books, I read some of the comic books, but folks, in the late 80s it really wasn't that big a deal to me, or anyone. Remember, in 1987 they quit doing the Ewoks cartoons. That was it for Star Wars on TV. And Marvel, the same year, had dropped the rights to do the comic books. There were no comic books being made either. No one cared. West End Games was the only one making some role-playing games, but that was it. And Star Wars was basically heading off into obscurity. George Lucas had moved on. He made movies like Howard the Duck, Willow, Last Crusade, and then he was working on the Indiana Jones Chronicles. The thought of there being any more Star Wars movies was zilch at that time. And then Zahn's book came out. Now, my dad's secretary is a huge Trekkie, and she actually tried to turn me into one of those fellow Trekkies back in the day, which is why I know so much about Star Trek. And I have a respect for Star Trek. It's a neat franchise, but not as good as Star Wars, and I'll tell you why. When I was watching all the TV shows, she was also giving me some books to read, and of course I love to read books, so I'm checking out her books and I'm reading through them, and then I notice they contradict what is in the TV show or what's in the movies, and the TV show contradicts itself and the movies contradict the TV show, and why is there so much contradiction? And she told me, well, that's every franchise. You know, they go, movies do their own thing, TV does their own thing, books do their own thing. Nothing really fits together. I was like, well, man, why read the books, right? So kind of got turned off of Star Trek. Well, for my birthday, I remember she'd gone to the bookstore to find me a Star Trek book. She didn't find one, and as fate would have it, what she found was Heir to the Empire by Timothy Zahn. So she picked me up the paperback book and gave it to me for my birthday, and I remember thanking her and basically just shelving it because I wasn't going to read it, alright? I like Star Wars, but no book is going to be worth it. Besides, books go off on their own thing, right? They contradict the movie, so why bother with the books? As the summer went by, though, I got extremely bored, and so I decided to just open it up and read it and see what it was like. Oh man, I loved it. I loved every moment of that book. In fact, I loved it so much I begged my mom to take me to the mall so I could buy the second book, Dark Force Rising. Of course, it wasn't out in paperback yet. It was still out in hardback, and I wasn't going to pay $22 for a hardback book. So I had to wait month after excruciating month until finally it came out in paperback. I remember I bought it that week and read it that same week as well. And then I felt so bad because now I have to wait another whole year before Last Command comes out on paperback. Well, I didn't wait. A few months later, when Last Command came out in hardback, I just ponied up the money and paid for it. I even remember telling the lady behind the counter, go ahead and give me the hardback versions of the first two because these are keepers. And as new books came out, I was very cautious to make sure that they mentioned Zahn's book, because if not, I wasn't going to get it. Because I just wanted to have one storyline. I don't want everyone telling their own stories. And it wasn't until I read Kevin J. Anderson's Jedi Academy trilogy and I saw that he put in events from the Dark Empire comic book. That blew my mind. So the comic books are in continuity with the books? That's amazing. I didn't know there was so much continuity. From then on out, I started buying everything. Man, we opened the floodgates. Started buying the comic books because the comic books meant something now. And even today, I'm shocked at how much continuity there is in the Star Wars universe. Just earlier this year, I bought a few guides that I think are wonderful And when I read them, I found even more connections that even I didn't even know. And I have it all. But this guy was showing me connections I had missed along the way. I was like, whoa, the role-playing games, the children's novels, the video games, the comic books, everything ties in together, and it does so beautifully. How did they do that? No other franchise was like that. These books basically are a diary of my life. I could tell you what I was doing when I was reading each book, almost. For instance, I remember reading Black Fleet Crisis when I was at my grandmother's for Thanksgiving, or the Galaxy of Fear series when I was waiting in line to see the re-release of Star Wars, the 1997 release. I read Vector Prime for my college graduation. I remember my mom waving at me. I waved back and I showed her the book and I was like, yay! And my mom's going, oh no, you didn't bring a book. I did. It was great. And I read Fate of the Jedi when I was sick on vacation one year. And I'd only brought like 3 books and I read them all. I mean, I couldn't do anything else but read. And I didn't bring the last book because I didn't think I'd get around to it, but the series was so good, I had to go buy the audio version of that book so I could listen to it in the car on the way back home because I had to know how it ended. Today, Dark Horse Comics came out with their last comic book, Star Wars Legacy. This is the last story from the expanded universe that they'll ever print. This is it. This comic book. I've been there from the very beginning. It's weird that I'm at the end of the expanded universe. It's almost like you're holding a dying friend in your arms as they pass away. I picked it up today. I'm about to read it. But I know when I do, that's it. No more new stories. Folks who say, I don't know what you're upset about. You have your books. No one's taking your books away from you. Books will always be there. Well, you don't understand, folks. We're not afraid they're going to take away our books. We're afraid that our stories, our characters are going to die. When a hero dies, it becomes a legend. There are no more stories to tell. That's what it means. There's no more stories to tell. Oh, they may pick pieces out of here and there and here and there, but we don't want a Frankenstein story of a universe we love. We want the whole thing. I don't want characters like Bacall, Revan, Kyle Katarn, Winter, Kip Duran, and a billion others to just pass away, become legends, right? Where there are no more new stories to tell about them. I want to hear more stories about those characters. These characters I basically grew up with, right? You saw Luke as a innocent little farm boy. Now he's Grand Master of the entire Jedi. Han and Leia, you've seen them get married and grow up and have kids. I mean, heck, we were all there when the twins were born and watched them grow through adolescence and to adulthood. They're more than just characters now. These are people we've grown up with, people I have read about for decades. Now their story's ending. You know, I've been reading a book, Stephen King on writing. It's pretty good. He has a good quote in here that I want to read to you. It said, "You wouldn't leave after 2,000 pages if there were 2,000. The Rings trilogy by J.R.R. Tolkien is a perfect example of this. 1,000 pages of Hobbits hasn't been enough for 3 generations of World War II fantasy fans. Even when you add in that clumsy, galumphing, derivable of an epilogue, The Silmarillion, it hasn't been enough. Hence, Terry Brooks, Piers Anthony, Robert Jordan, The Questuring Rabbits of Watership Down, and 100 others. The writers of these books are creating the hobbits they still love and pine for. They are trying to bring Frodo and Sam back from the Grey Heavens because Tolkien is no longer around to do it for them. The expanded universe has inspired all of us. All of us. And it hasn't all touched us the same way. Heck, you think I'm a big fan because I have the entire expanded universe? You're just as big a fan as me. Talking to some of you, you only play the video games, but you love the expanded universe. You only keep up with the Old Republic, but you love the expanded universe. You only read some comic books, that's all, but you love the expanded universe. You maybe read a few books, but you love the expanded universe. You love it just as much as I do. We're all on the same level here, folks. There's no hierarchy of fans. We all love the expanded universe. We don't want it to end. Lauren Bacall, an actress of the golden screen, passed away about a month or so ago, and she had a great quote. She hated being called a legend, and she said this. She said, "Legends have everything to do with the past and nothing to do with the present." Folks, as of today, the EU will be in the past. It won't have anything to do with the present. I've said it several times and I'll say it again. You're the EU rebellion. You can keep this storyline alive. We're growing more and more every day, getting structured, making our voice be heard. You can do this. Don't let this be the last story the expanded universe ever gives us.